Okay, so now we're going to create our letter. We've got the letterhead for the business complete. Now our next task is to get the content of the letter going. So we're going to learn how to do some things with that. All right, so what to consider when writing a business letter. A finished business letter should look like a symmetrically framed picture with evenly spaced margins, all balanced below an attractive letterhead. Your business letter needs to be well written, properly formatted, logically organized, use visuals when appropriate, contain proper grammar, correct spelling, logically constructed sentences, flowing paragraphs, and sound ideas. Okay? Every letter should have all of these essential elements. You need to have a date line, you need to have an inside address line, you need your message, and then you need a signature block. If you do a letter that doesn't have letterhead, then at the top of your letter, you need to include your address. Letters should have proper spacing. So it's been determined that size 8 to 12 font is a readable font, and that's good. That's a good one to use. You should use bold, italics, and bullets when you're trying to add emphasis, and any numeric information should be presented in tables. Paragraphs need to be single-spaced with double spacing between the paragraphs. So let's go back to our letterhead, and the first thing we want to do is we want to change the style of our letterhead. So I'm going to go back over to the Home tab. Recall that the normal style in Word puts an 8-point blank space after each paragraph and a vertical space equal to 1 line between each line of text. But you're going to need to modify that spacing for the paragraphs in a business letter, because remember, our business letters need to be single spaced with double spacing between paragraphs. So one of the easiest styles to select that doesn't require you to do anything new is just to click no spacing. So the next thing we need to do is to set a tab. A tab stop is a location on the horizontal ruler that tells Word where to position the insertion point when you press the tab key. Okay? Word by default places a tab stop at every ½ inch mark, but you can set your own custom tab stops. Tab settings are a paragraph format, so every time you press the Enter key, any custom tab stops will carry forward to the next paragraph. To move the insertion point from one tab to another, all you have to do is press the Tab key, which is located on the left upper side of your keyboard. When you set a custom tab stop, you specify how the text will align at the tab stop. So take a look now in your top left corner where I'm circling. That's your tab character. That symbol that makes an L, that's a left align tab stop. So if we use that, then it's going, whenever we tab, we'll start typing, whatever we type will be left aligned. If you click it one time, it'll go to center tab, and so if you tab with this type of a tab in place, you will, your text will center at the location where the cursor is. Click it another time, and you will have a right tab, so the text will right align at the location of the tab stop. If you click it again, you'll notice there's a decimal point on there, and that's our decimal tab, which means that your text will align on the decimal point at the location of the tab stop. And finally, the last one is the bar tab, which aligns text at a bar character at the location of the tab stop. So we're going to go ahead and do a left tab stop. And what we would want to do, the reason we want to do that is because the business letter guidelines specify that we need to begin our date line approximately ½ inch to the right of the center of the page. So that means we need to set our custom tab stop at the 4-inch mark on the ruler, which puts us right here. So you notice, I don't know if you noticed, but I clicked when we were on this, that left. You don't have to click it unless you've gone through these like I have. So I am now got my cursor, my arrow on the 4, and I'm up in the white part, and I'm going to left click. And you'll notice that it inserted a left tab. So the next thing I need to do is, now that I'm and I want to go ahead and turn on my formatting marks. Now that I am 2 lines down from my underline border, I'm going to go ahead and tab over, and you'll notice it tabs over to the 4-inch mark where I left it. And I'm going to I've got to insert my date, but there's a quick way to do that. I can go to Insert, and over here I will find the Insert Date and Time, and I want to click on that. And I want to pick my format, and the format that I want to pick is going to be month, date, comma, and year. Make sure that Update Automatically is not clicked in our example here. There may be times when that's appropriate to click. Every time you open the Word document, it'll just put in the newest date that you've done. So we're going to click OK. The next step in composing our business letter is to type the inside address and the salutation. So the following steps will take us through that. So we're going to, with the insertion point at the end of the date, let's press Enter 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Then we need to type Miss Lucy Song. Enter after that. We want to type Washington Volunteer Foundation. Enter. We want to type 10 Hickory Avenue. Enter. And then Midway, Washington. 98476. And finally, we enter twice after that, and we type Dear Miss Song, colon. That completes our inside address and our salutation. So I want to introduce something new to you guys. It's called a building block. If you use the same text or graphic frequently, you can store that text or graphic as a building block and then insert it later. That way you can create the entry one time and you don't have to continue to write it out every single time. We're going to create a building block for Washington Volunteer Foundation, and the reason for that is because we're going to be inserting it later in the document, and there's a lot to it. We don't want to misspell it. We don't want to forget to capitalize the W, the V, or the F, so this will just make it easier for us. So the first thing we want to do is we want to select our Washington Volunteer Foundation. Be careful that you do not select this formatting mark after. We don't want that to be a part of our building block. Then we're going to go, we're still in the Insert tab, so we're going to stay there. We're going to go right over here to this box, which is called Explore Quick Parts. We're going to drop that down. Okay. And we're going to save a selection to the Quick Part Gallery. Now the name that we want to use is WVF, and we'll just do it lowercase, WVF, and make sure that it says Quick Parts, General, Building Blocks, and Insert Content only. When we get done with that, we can say OK. All right, so that was it. We created our building block. Now I want to show you how you can modify a building block. So if you go back up to the Explore tab, you'll notice that our building block is demonstrated here. You can click and hold, or I lost it, or double click, or I'm sorry, right click. And when you have that up, you can go to Edit Properties. And in our description, let's go ahead and add Potential Volunteer Opportunity. And say OK. Now that would be, do you want to redefine the building block entry? Yes. So now it's time for us to learn how to insert a building block. So we're going to use the Washington Volunteer Foundation in our first sentence in the body of the letter. Let's go ahead and start out by getting that done. So let's go over here. We're at the end of the colon in our salutation. We'll go ahead and enter twice, and we'll start typing. Thank you for meeting with me this morning to discuss the mentoring position available at WVF. Do not type your period just yet. At this point, press the F3 key to instruct Word to replace the building block name WVF with the stored building block entry. Now we can press period. So simply pressing F3 will insert your building block. Okay? Now, some compound words like proper nouns, dates, units of time, measure, abbreviations, geographic destinations should not be divided at the end of a line. These words either should fit as a unit on the end of a line or just be wrapped together onto the next line. So what I want to introduce are non-breaking spaces and non-breaking hyphens. So let's talk about what they are. A non-breaking space is a special space character that prevents two words from splitting if the first word falls at the end of the line. You're going to do this by hitting Control, Shift, and Space all at the same time. You can do non-breaking hyphens, which is a special type of hyphen that prevents two words being separated that are separated by a hyphen from splitting at the end of a line. Also, this can be used with a phone number, Control Shift hyphen. Okay. So the following steps, we'll follow these steps to insert a non-breaking space between the two words in the city name branch center. We want these two words in the city name to appear on the same physical line. So let's go back to our letterhead and I truly enjoyed our conversation and am excited about the possibility of volunteering with your branch, and we will Control Shift Space Center Team and then press period. Now, unfortunately, because of the font size of ours, we didn't get to see the benefit of that. So I want to play with this for a minute. Let's lower our font size. There we go. If you lower it to 10, what it shows you is that, and you'll notice you have a special character, a raised open dot, showing that we've got those two words tied together, which means they would not be able to break apart if it came to the end of the line. Okay? All right, so that is how you would use that's how you would use the non-breaking space and the non-breaking hyphen. So now what we're going to do is we want to go ahead and insert the rest of our text. So let me find out what we need to type in. The next sentence will be the table below. And let's go ahead and increase our font size back up to 12. And let me make my correction here. Outlines my volunteer service background. And we'll do a colon. Press the Enter key twice to place a blank line between paragraphs. At this time, go ahead and save your document, and we'll be back for